Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida joins me now. He is among this number. First, the best to you and your family for Christmas. Thanks for being on New Day.
You as well, Chris. I will say it's not just Republicans making these calls. Harvard University just released a poll where more than half of the American people believe that there's conflict of interest that has infected the Mueller investigation. And we just need the Justice Department to step up and seize control. I don't know where the Attorney General and Rod Rosenstein are in this, but I think they need to fire Mueller and cure us of these conflicts.
All right, first, all polls are not equal. I did say not exclusively a Republican, but it is.
It's Harvard, Chris.
It is primarily.
It's Harvard University.
I get it. I know the school. It's the second best in the country, Yale being the first. But let me ask you this. What do you know that Rod Rosenstein does not? He's in charge of the situation. He knows the people better than you. He knows what's going on better than you. And you heard him there saying, that's not my concern. We can handle it.
Well, Chris, all the American people can see the text messages that were forced to be released because Devin Nunes was about to subpoena them. But time and again, you don't only see the reflection of people's political beliefs, you see Peter Strzok, an essential FBI agent that worked not only on the Hillary Clinton email scandal, but also was drafted onto the Mueller probe, saying that he thinks that Hillary Clinton should have won the election 100 million to 0. He didn't think there was a single person that could reasonably vote for Donald Trump. And then you see that he calls himself the insurance policy for the country, that he has multiple ways he can save the American people. He praises his girlfriend's role in laying out a plan to disrupt the president's election back in August. And so these aren't just the expression of beliefs. This is an action plan to disrupt the presidency of Donald Trump, and it's reflective of a conflict.
That's your interpretation. There's an inspector general who's looking into exactly this, and an inspector general is a heck of a lot more independent than you or any other partisan. But more importantly, you went from saying there's a cabal, there's a group, there's an infection, to one person. So why are you so concerned beyond the politics of a probe that you don't like? No, you went to one person. Well, when you went to your example of where this infection is, you name one guy and maybe one other person he was talking to.
All right, let's name another. Bruce Ohr, one of the top officials at the Department of Justice. His wife, Nellie Ohr, was an employee at Fusion GPS, a company getting paid by the FBI and the DNC potentially to go and collude with Russians, to pay Russians to dig up dirt on the president. How about the fact that more than half of the people on the Mueller probe donated to either Obama or Clinton, and none of them donated to Trump? This is not just the case of one person. This is pervasive conflict of interest. It is if, when Bob Mueller picked his team, he was fishing in the Never Trump aquarium, Chris.
Bob Mueller interviewed with the president considering a position with the administration. He has been a Republican longer than you had even considered being a Republican. He is a decorated war veteran who ran the FBI and who everybody in your party said was an excellent choice. What has changed since then, other than your disenchantment with the direction of this probe?
Well, look, for over 4.5 months, we've had over 20 members of the Judiciary Committee calling for a special counsel to review these things. So it's not as if these are new revelations.
Well, why would you have a special counsel? They only investigate crimes.
Of interest.
Why would you do that? You have the Inspector General. You could have a committee, I guess, but why a special counsel?
On the part of Bob.
It's not a crime.
Because here you may have prosecutorial misconduct.
It's not a crime.
The things that Hillary Clinton did were absolutely crimes, and they were never truly investigated because you had people designating her investigation as special and that it didn't go through the normal procedures. That's Andy McCabe,
you had Jim Comey,
the current deputy director
who
of the
arguably
FBI.
did the worst thing that happened in the election for Hillary Clinton. And by the way, you know what you're forgetting? That is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is, do you remember that during the probe, Hillary Clinton and her supporters were making the same argument you're making right now? These people in the FBI hate me. They're all coming up to Comey and they're saying, you've got to investigate. She's dirty. She's a liar. These Clintons always lie. I don't remember you being concerned about their obvious political animus.
Chris, there is actual evidence that Hillary Clinton got special treatment. This is not some attestation on my part. It's literally a reading of the emails from Andy McCabe saying Hillary Clinton's going to get special treatment. So again, these are not opinions on my part. They're the actual messages that people in the FBI were sending to one another. You made the point that Mueller was interviewed for his old job back, the FBI director position. I think that's a key fact. On the 16th of May, the president interviews Mueller and tells him he's essentially not going to be the next director of the FBI.
That is not our read on what happened. How do you know that that's what happened in that conversation?
Well, look, I mean, you've got a situation where Rosenstein walks Mueller out of that meeting.
It's Rosenstein, and how do you know that the president said you're not getting the job? That's the point of this meeting. How do you know that?
Because within 24 hours, Rosenstein appoints him to be the head of this probe. If he was seriously being considered for his old job back, the job he wanted, he would have gotten it. I don't think there's a single American who would want to pass somebody over for a job.
Hold on a second. Don't overpower me with your wisdom of loquacious attacks. What I'm saying is this: if Trump didn't like Mueller, okay? You're saying that he had this meeting with him. You're not getting the job. You don't make the grade. And then right after it, the guy who he appoints to head up what's happening in the DOJ picks him. The same guy that he leaned on for this memo about why Comey had to go. The same guy he put in place just decides to stab him in the back.
You're making a... Look, you're making a lot of assumptions there. There's no evidence that the president leaned on Rosenstein.
I am asking questions based on your assumptions,
including at the committee this week. No. Look, the timeline is what it is, right? And the fact that Mueller, after getting rejected for getting his own job back, goes and picks Andrew Weissman to be his number two. A guy, look, you're telling me Bob Mueller couldn't pick somebody to be his number two that didn't attend the Hillary Clinton election night party? The same Andrew Weissman who wrote Sally Yates an email praising her for directly defying an order from the President of the United States.
You will find political opinions in everybody in government.
This is an opinion. It's action, Chris. You've got Weissman sending an email on his DOJ account praising someone for defying the president. That's not an opinion. That is an action on government time, on government email. When Strzok says, I'm going to be the insurance policy, when he talks about his girlfriend, Lisa Page, throwing out a plan in Andy McCabe's office to undermine Donald Trump, these are actions that people are taking to undermine the duly elected president and to undermine the democracy in our country. And the elected representatives of the people, the Congress, have an obligation to expose this bias, to expose what I believe is a corrupt investigation. And I call on my Republican colleagues to join me in calling for the firing of Bob Mueller. And look, it's time for Mueller to put up or shut up. If there is evidence of collusion with Russia, let's see it. But we're almost a year into this thing.
Have you ever been involved with federal investigations in the past?
Look, I've not been the subject, or I've never been a participant.
I'm not indicting your character. I'm saying if you've been around them, if you've monitored them, the idea that this investigation has taken too long is absurd. They always take a long time. You talk to career prosecutors, they'll say they're surprised that he moved as quickly as he has. This is very intricate stuff that they're looking at, and they're not doing it with a lot of help from you guys, because you're all caught up in the political mishigas.
They have an unlimited budget, and they have more people investigating.
If you're worried about
government
waste and money, you should have felt strong about this tax bill, then, Congressman, because you just blew up our deficit with it.
That's why I voted against the budget. No. You got the wrong guy on that, Chris. I voted against the budget that blew up the deficit.
No, I'm talking about this tax bill.
Budget that would have required mandatory spending cuts. Well, look. Yeah, well, that tax bill should have been accompanied by spending cuts. I think a criticism.
Did you vote for the tax bill or no?
Tax bill simultaneous. Well, I voted for the tax bill, but I did not vote for the budget that allowed it to occur at the same time.
But you voted for the tax bill. I'm saying if you want to be a penny pincher,
well, sure, I'm not going to hold.
You were just pound foolish in that regard, is what I'm saying.
Well, absolutely false, Chris. We should be doing spending cuts. And actually, the president has promised that welfare reform is next. And we're going to try to get this deficit under control, because the criticism that we're blowing up the deficit is a fair one. We actually need to get in and cut spending. I agree with that.
This was actually a natural transition. I'm happy we're making it. So we went from Mueller. Now we're going with taxes. This matters as well. I'm not feeling you on this. So help me understand your position on this. You can't look at this objectively or subjectively, this tax bill, and see that it's good for the deficit. Even if you look at the magic of growth that you guys are all hoping happens by rewarding businesses. But you voted for it, you see. And that's the problem.
No, what I voted for was a budget that would have demanded simultaneous spending cuts. I don't think we should cut taxes without cutting spending. But Chris, at the same time, like, we have a Congress, unfortunately, that acts far too linearly. They do one thing at a time. I don't really get it. I'm kind of new to the institution.
Why'd you vote yes on the tax bill if you care about the deficit?
Well, because I don't. Chris, because I think we shouldn't hold taxpayers hostage because people in Washington don't know how to cut spending. We do need growth in this economy. We do need to be able to deliver on the promises of a rising tide for all Americans. We have to cut taxes to get there, but you're absolutely right.
Why do you have to cut taxes to get there? You have growth right now. Alan Greenspan said you don't need a tax cut.
Well, but a lot of that growth is expecting of a tax cut. It's anticipatory growth.
The stock market
if we don't actually cut
is anticipatory. It is a casino effect
but
there. That's not affecting wages for the middle class, the people you say you care about.
Well, look, the wages will rise when we bring trillions of dollars from overseas back into the American economy. When you have investor confidence, consumer confidence, well, just about every
investor confidence. You have the Wall Street's at an all-time high. Who says that giving corporations more money will make them raise wages?
That's anticipatory. Chris, that'll be a sugar high if we don't actually deliver on tax cuts. The stock market is at an all-time high. By the way, something that your network never gives the president credit for.
We talk about it all the time.
Taxes
Matt,
so that we can harden that economic growth.
Stick to the facts. The idea that we don't talk about it and talk about his share of the responsibility, as well as the fact that Trump always said before he ran and even a little bit during it, stop looking at Wall Street as an indicator of Main Street. That's deceptive. It doesn't have anything to do with the reality for people who work for a living. So, anyway,
we've been
stick to the facts. I don't see how you can look
people.
at this and say, I'm taking care of the deficit. I voted for this tax bill. They just don't go together.
You're right. That's why we've got to cut spending. That's why I keep fighting
you voted for it, and now
cuts.
you guys are saying you'll take it out of entitlements, which the president said he wouldn't do.
Do you think we need work requirements? Do you think we need to block grant Medicaid? Those are the things that save money. I'm for all of those things. I keep fighting for those things. But, you know, people on the political left, including your network, don't seem to be supportive of spending cuts.
So covers it as it is. Matt, if you can't make strong arguments, you ever hear the expression, if you have the facts, if you don't have the facts, argue the law. If you don't have the law, argue the facts. If you don't have either, bang on the table and start yelling. That's what you're doing.
What we have
CNN's
is
not your problem, my friend. Your position is you're the one who voted for this tax bill. It blows up the deficit. You got to own it.
Tax bill, and then I do believe that we ought to deal with the deficit through spending cuts. It'd be nice if we had some bipartisanship on that. I don't see a single Democrat.
But you need to do those cuts now on the backs of people who need entitlements because of what you're doing with your tax cut. You're creating your own problem, my brother.
That able-bodied, childless adults need entitlements. Look, people who can go to work and choose not to don't need entitlements. They just get entitlements. And if we had real work requirements like the House fought for in our budget, then you could reduce spending by hundreds of billions of dollars.
There are requirements in place. The idea that malingering is the problem with our entitlement structure is insulting to the reality of people in this country. And you look at your own state and the people who are on entitlements, you're not going to find a lot of lazy people. You're going to find the elderly.
My state wants to do work requirements. I was in my state legislature when we tried to do work requirements and the federal government wouldn't let us. I think we could unlock the potential of our great federalist system, have 50 states trying 50 things. In the state of Maine, where work requirements were installed, you saw the food stamp rolls go down. And I think that if we had Washington exercising less control, you'd have more of a vibrant system where people would be able to get folks to work. That would lead to more economic growth. I think these things can ultimately compound and lead to levels of growth that we haven't seen in this country for a generation. The first step is the tax cut. The next step is spending cuts.
Well, the reality is this. You say you don't want to be linear, then you should look at it in less than just a linear way. You can do your spending cuts, and you didn't have to blow up the deficit with the tax bill. That's why the vote seems inconsistent. But, Congressman, as always, you are welcome on this show to make the case, and I wish you and your family a good Christmas.
You as well, Chris.